Listen closely, because this isn't about just surviving your solitude, it's about owning it. Most people run from being alone because they think it means something's missing, but the truth is, being alone is a classroom. It's the place where you discover who you really are without the noise of the world telling you what you should be. The first step, shift your perspective. Being alone is not a punishment, it's a gift. It's your space to breathe, to think, and to grow. Second, master your inner dialogue. The words you speak to yourself create your emotions. If you tell yourself, I'm lonely, you'll feel empty. But if you tell yourself, I'm building myself, solitude becomes powerful. Third, discover your passions. Use this time to learn new skills, read, create, or explore. This is the season where you get to put energy into you. When you think about being alone, what's the first thought that crosses your mind? For many people, it's fear. They associate solitude with emptiness, with silence that feels uncomfortable, or with a reminder that something is missing in their life. But here's the truth. What you focus on becomes your reality. If you see being alone as loneliness, you'll feel pain. If you see it as an opportunity, you'll feel power. The difference between joy and suffering is not the situation, it's the meaning you attach to it. When you shift your perspective, you shift your entire life. Being alone doesn't mean you are broken, unloved, or incomplete. It means you have space to discover who you truly are. Think about it. The greatest inventions, the deepest insights, the most powerful art, all of it was born from moments of solitude. Alone time is not isolation, it's incubation. It's the moment where your mind has the freedom to breathe, where your heart can speak, and where your spirit can grow stronger. Most people try to avoid solitude because they're afraid of their own thoughts. They drown themselves in distractions, social media, endless scrolling, constant noise. Why? Because silence can feel intimidating. But here's the key: silence is not your enemy. Silence is the doorway to clarity. It's in those quiet moments that you realize what truly matters to you, not what the world told you should matter. When you are alone, you have a chance to stop performing for others and start listening to yourself. Shifting your perspective starts with a decision. You can either say, I am alone, therefore I am lacking, or you can say, I am alone, therefore I am free. Alone doesn't mean nobody wants you. Alone means you are strong enough to stand without leaning on someone else. Alone means you have time to create, to learn, to heal, to prepare. It's the season where your roots grow deeper, even if no one sees it from the surface. And later, those roots will allow you to grow taller than you ever imagined. Think about this. When a seed is planted in the soil, it spends a long time hidden underground. It looks like nothing is happening. But in reality, the seed is developing the foundation, the roots that will one day allow it to break through the surface and reach the light. That hidden season is necessary. Without it, the plant would never survive. Your solitude is the same. You might feel unseen, unnoticed, or even forgotten, but in truth, you are in your root, building stage. You are creating strength inside yourself that will one day allow you to shine in ways you can't yet imagine. The shift is simple but powerful. Stop saying, I'm alone because something is wrong with me, and start saying, I'm alone because something is being built inside me. Stop asking, why am I left out? And start asking, what can I do with this gift of time that I have been given? Because make no mistake, time alone is a gift. It's the one resource that allows you to reset, to focus, to realign. And here's the beautiful part. When you learn to love your own company, when you learn to laugh by yourself, create by yourself, and grow by yourself, you become unstoppable. Why? Because you no longer depend on anyone else for your happiness. You carry it with you. You generate it from within. You no longer fear being left out because you know how to fill your own life with meaning. That is true freedom. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it, embrace it, ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me? What strength am I building right now? Because when you shift your perspective, you transform solitude from something to run away from into something to run toward. You no longer see it as emptiness, you see it as possibility, and when you can master that shift, you will discover that being alone is not the absence of happiness, it's the foundation of it. Every single day, there is a voice inside your mind that never stops talking. Sometimes it's encouraging, sometimes it's critical, sometimes it's doubtful. This voice, your inner dialogue, shapes the way you feel about yourself, the way you act in the world, and ultimately the quality of your life. If you want to be truly happy alone, you must learn to master that voice. Because the truth is, loneliness doesn't come from being without people. It comes from believing the wrong story about yourself when you are alone. Imagine two people sitting in the same room by themselves. One person is telling themselves, "Nobody cares about me, I'm unwanted, I'll never be happy." They feel heavy, discouraged, maybe even hopeless. The other person in the same situation says to themselves, "This is my time to grow, I get to invest in me, I am enough, and I'm going to use this space to become stronger." Same environment, completely different experience. What made the difference? The words they chose to feed their mind. You see, your brain is always listening to you. The conversations you have inside your own head are not harmless. They are instructions. If you tell yourself you are weak, your body and emotions will follow that command. If you tell yourself you are strong, resilient, and capable, you start to act that way. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing the meaning that empowers you rather than the meaning that destroys you. Most people never question their inner dialogue. They assume that whatever thoughts pop into their head must be true, but thoughts are not facts, they are stories. Some stories are useful, others are toxic. The key to happiness in solitude is to step into the role of the author, not just the reader. You don't have to accept every thought that shows up. You get to direct it, shape it, and choose which thoughts you amplify. So, how do you do this in practical terms? Start by noticing your patterns. When you are alone, what do you usually tell yourself? Do you say things like, "I don't matter, I'm bored, I can't do this"? Or do you say, "This is my time, I'm learning, I'm growing, I can handle this"? Awareness is the first step. Once you hear the old dialogue, you interrupt it. You literally stop and replace it with something that empowers you. If your inner voice says, "I'm lonely," counter it with, "No, I'm learning to enjoy my own company. This is practice for strength." If it says, "Nobody cares," shift it to, "I care about me. I can take care of myself. I am building value that others will one day see." This is not just about positive thinking. It's about reprogramming your nervous system. Every time you redirect your inner dialogue, you are carving a new pathway in your brain. At first it feels forced, maybe even fake. But just like exercising a weak muscle, with repetition, it gets stronger. Eventually, the empowering voice becomes automatic and the old voice loses its grip. And here's the beauty: once you master your inner dialogue, you become your own best friend. You stop waiting for someone else to validate you, compliment you, or tell you that you matter. You give that to yourself. Imagine how powerful it feels to know that no matter where you are or who is with you, you always carry encouragement inside your own mind. That is true independence. Think about the most successful, fulfilled people in the world. Do you think they never had doubts or fears? Of course, they did, but they didn't allow those thoughts to dominate. They trained themselves to direct their focus, to choose the empowering story over the disempowering one. You have that same ability. When you are alone, you can either let your inner voice drag you into despair, or you can train it to pull you into strength, clarity, and peace. So here's the challenge. The next time you catch yourself saying something negative internally, pause. Ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't say it to yourself either. Instead, flip it. Talk to yourself the way you would to a close friend, kind, supportive, motivating, because at the end of the day, you spend more time with yourself than with anyone else. If you can't make that relationship a loving one, no amount of company from others will ever fill that gap. When you master your inner dialogue, being alone no longer feels like punishment. It becomes empowering because you know you're not truly alone. You are always with the strongest, most supportive version of yourself. That shift turns solitude into strength, and strength into happiness. When you are alone, you are given one of the greatest opportunities life can offer, the chance to discover what truly excites your soul. Most people spend their lives chasing other people's dreams, living by society's expectations, or following routines that numb them instead of energizing them. They rarely stop to ask, what do I love? What makes me feel alive? What would I do even if nobody paid me, even if nobody noticed? Being alone gives you the perfect space to explore those questions without distraction, without judgment, without pressure to perform for others. It's in solitude that passion reveals itself. Passion is not always something you stumble upon suddenly. Often, it is something you uncover gradually through exploration. Think of it like digging for treasure. You don't just find gold lying on the surface. You have to dig, search, and sometimes get your hands dirty. In the same way, you discover passion by trying new things, testing your interests, and noticing which activities make you lose track of time. Being alone is the perfect environment for this exploration because you don't have to cater to anyone else's schedule, opinions, or preferences. You can experiment freely and see what resonates with your heart. The danger of not discovering your passions is that you end up living a life of quiet frustration. You wake up, go through the motions, do what is expected, but inside you feel empty. Passion is what brings color to life. It transforms ordinary days into meaningful ones. And when you are alone, you can't hide from that truth. The silence makes it clear whether or not you are living in alignment with what excites you. This can be uncomfortable, but it's also liberating because it pushes you to seek out what will truly fulfill you. How do you start discovering your passions? Begin by asking yourself powerful questions. What topics do I naturally gravitate toward? What activities make me feel energized instead of drained? When was the last time I felt fully alive, fully engaged, fully present? Write down the answers, even if they seem small or insignificant. Sometimes passion begins as a whisper, not a roar. For example, maybe you realize you love cooking, writing, painting, or solving problems. Alone time allows you to practice these interests without pressure, and over time, passion grows into mastery. Another key is to pay attention to curiosity. Passion and curiosity are deeply connected. Curiosity is the seed, and passion is the tree that grows from it. If something sparks your interest, follow it. Read about it, practice it, explore it. Too many people dismiss their curiosity because they think, that won't make me money, or that's not practical. But passion is not about practicality, it's about energy. It's about doing something that lights you up inside, and when you do, everything else in your life improves. You become more confident, more joyful, and ironically, more successful because passion fuels persistence. Being alone gives you the time to invest deeply in your passions. Think of solitude as your personal workshop. While others may spend their hours distracting themselves with constant noise and busyness, you have the gift of building skills, experimenting, and growing into the person you want to become. Some of the greatest writers, musicians, innovators, and leaders spent countless hours in solitude, practicing their craft, discovering their voice, shaping their vision. Alone time was not wasted, it was the foundation of their greatness. But discovering your passion is not just about finding hobbies, it's about aligning your life with meaning. When you discover what excites you, you gain a sense of purpose that carries you even in difficult times. Loneliness fades when you are engaged in something that matters to you, because passion fills the empty spaces. Instead of waiting for someone else to bring joy into your life, you create it yourself through the pursuit of what you love. And here's the truth, passion is contagious. When you develop it, you naturally begin to attract people who share the same fire. You may start alone, but as you commit to your passions, you build a community around them. People are drawn to energy, and passion is pure energy. So by first embracing solitude and using it to discover your passions, you actually set yourself up for deeper, more authentic connections later on. So do not waste your alone time wishing it away. Use it. Explore, create, practice, experiment. Try things you've never tried before. Fail, adjust, and try again. Every moment of solitude is an opportunity to get closer to the activities, the causes, the experiences that make your spirit come alive. And when you find them, you will realize that being alone was never a burden. It was the doorway to a life of passion, purpose, and fulfillment. One of the greatest lessons you can learn in life is that your happiness cannot depend on anyone else. If it does, you will always feel unstable because people are unpredictable. They change, they leave, they disappoint, and sometimes they simply cannot give you what you need. Emotional independence is the ability to find stability, peace, and joy within yourself, regardless of what others do or don't do. And if you want to be happy alone, this is the foundation you must build. Think about how most people live. They tie their emotions to external circumstances. If someone compliments them, they feel good. If someone ignores them, they feel bad. If they get attention on social media, they're happy. If they don't, they feel rejected. This kind of dependency is like riding a roller coaster you can't control. You go up and down with the approval or disapproval of others. But real strength comes when you step off that ride and decide that your worth, your peace, and your happiness will not be dictated by the outside world. Building emotional independence doesn't mean you don't need people. We all need connection, but it does mean you don't rely on people to complete you. You come into relationships already full, already whole, already secure. Instead of seeking love from desperation, you share love from abundance. And that changes everything, because when you don't need someone to make you happy, you can actually enjoy them for who they are, not for what they provide you emotionally. So how do you build this kind of independence? It begins with recognizing your patterns. Do you find yourself constantly seeking validation? Do you get anxious if someone doesn't reply right away? Do you depend on praise or attention to feel good about yourself? If so, that's a signal that your emotional state is being controlled from the outside. The first step is awareness. Once you see it, you can start to shift it. Next, you must create rituals that allow you to generate positive emotions on your own. This might be through physical movement like exercise or dancing, which immediately changes your state. It might be through meditation or journaling, which connects you with your inner world. It could be through learning something new or practicing gratitude, which reprograms your mind to focus on what is abundant instead of what is missing. The point is to develop ways of creating joy, peace, and fulfillment without needing anyone else to supply it. Another powerful part of emotional independence is learning how to validate yourself. Instead of waiting for someone to say, "You're good enough," or "I'm proud of you," you say it to yourself. You acknowledge your efforts, your growth, your progress. You stop waiting for applause and begin to celebrate yourself, even for small victories. This doesn't mean arrogance. It means recognizing your own value so that you are not dependent on others to remind you of it. There will be times when emotions hit hard: sadness, frustration, disappointment. Emotional independence doesn't mean you avoid these feelings. It means you allow yourself to feel them without being destroyed by them. You sit with the emotions, process them, and remind yourself that you have the strength to move forward. You are not fragile, you are resilient, and each time you navigate your own emotions without leaning on someone else to fix them for you, you grow stronger. Over time, this independence gives you freedom. You no longer fear being alone because you know you can handle it. You no longer chase relationships out of need because you are already whole. You no longer collapse when life doesn't go your way because you've built the ability to rise no matter what. That kind of strength makes you magnetic. People are drawn to those who radiate security, who don't cling, who don't demand, but who share themselves freely because they already feel complete. So remember this: emotional independence is not about rejecting others. It's about empowering yourself. It's about saying, "I choose to take responsibility for my own happiness." And when you can do that, you carry peace with you everywhere you go. Whether you're surrounded by people or sitting quietly by yourself, you feel grounded, whole, and alive. And that is what true freedom feels like. When you are alone, one of the biggest challenges is structure. Without people around to guide your day or external demands constantly pulling on you, time can feel endless. It can slip away in distractions, leaving you feeling unproductive, bored, or even more isolated. That's why creating daily rituals is so important. Rituals are not just routines. They are intentional actions that give your life rhythm, direction, and meaning. They transform empty time into purposeful time, and they help you build momentum toward the life you want. A ritual doesn't have to be something grand or complicated. In fact, the most powerful rituals are often simple but consistent. It could be waking up each morning and practicing gratitude by writing down 3 things you appreciate. It could be dedicating 30 minutes to movement, whether it's exercise, stretching, or walking outside. It could be setting aside quiet time to meditate, breathe, or visualize the person you are becoming. The point is to design a set of practices that feed your mind, body, and spirit every single day, especially in moments of solitude. Why does this matter so much? Because without rituals, you drift. When you drift, your emotions take control of you. If you wake up with no plan, you are at the mercy of how you feel in that moment. And when you are alone, those feelings can often spiral toward boredom or negativity. But when you have rituals, you don't wait for motivation to show up. You create it. You anchor your day with purposeful actions that move you forward, regardless of your mood. Think of rituals like the rails on a train track. Without them, the train can't go anywhere. It just sits still or moves aimlessly. But with rails, the train has direction. Your rituals are the rails for your life. They keep you moving toward growth, even on the days you don't feel like it. And the more consistently you practice them, the more momentum you build. Momentum is what transforms small actions into big results over time. Another benefit of rituals is that they build confidence. Every time you complete a ritual, you keep a promise to yourself. You prove that you can rely on your own discipline. And when you keep those promises day after day, you start to trust yourself more. That trust becomes the foundation for self-respect. When you respect yourself, being alone no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like empowerment, because you know you are capable of leading your own life with strength. Daily rituals also protect your energy. When you intentionally choose what to focus on each day, you stop wasting energy on meaningless distractions. Instead of losing hours to scrolling or procrastinating, you channel your time into actions that build you up. Over time, this creates a sense of fulfillment that makes solitude enjoyable rather than painful. You no longer feel like you're just passing time, you feel like you're investing time. But rituals are not just about productivity. They are about joy. A ritual can be as simple as making yourself a cup of tea in the morning, listening to your favorite music, or taking a walk at sunset. These small acts give texture and warmth to your day. They remind you that happiness doesn't always come from big achievements or other people. It often comes from simple, intentional moments of presence. Of course, creating rituals requires commitment. At first, it may feel forced, especially if you're not used to structure. You may resist telling yourself you'll start tomorrow, but here's the truth. The more you delay, the more your time slips away unnoticed. The key is to start small and be consistent. Choose 1 or 2 rituals that you can realistically commit to and build from there. Over time, those rituals become habits, and those habits become part of your identity. You no longer have to think about them. They simply become who you are. When you live with rituals, you no longer feel at the mercy of your circumstances. You wake up with intention, you move through the day with purpose, and when you go to bed at night, you feel satisfied, knowing you invested in yourself. That satisfaction is the antidote to loneliness. It fills the space with meaning and progress, leaving no room for emptiness. So if you find yourself alone, don't waste that gift. Design your day. Build rituals that nurture your body, challenge your mind, and uplift your spirit. Because at the end of the day, it's not the number of people around you that determines your happiness. It's the quality of the life you create for yourself. And rituals are the key to creating a life worth living, no matter who is or isn't with you. There is a deep truth about human beings. No matter how much success, comfort, or independence we achieve, our lives feel incomplete until we give something back. Contribution is not about money, fame, or recognition. It is about using what you have, no matter how small, to make a difference in someone else's life. And when you are alone, this truth becomes even more important. Solitude can sometimes feel like isolation, but contribution transforms that feeling. It reminds you that even if you are by yourself physically, you are still connected to the bigger fabric of humanity. When you grow through contribution, you turn loneliness into purpose. Many people think they need to have everything figured out before they can give. They believe they need more money, more time, or more resources before they are ready to contribute. But contribution doesn't start with abundance. It creates abundance. The act of giving, whether it's your time, your energy, your knowledge, or simply your kindness, generates a sense of fulfillment that nothing else can. When you give, you are no longer just living for yourself. You become part of something larger, and that gives your life meaning, even in solitude. Think about the times when you felt most alive. Chances are, it wasn't when you were only focused on yourself. It was when you made someone smile, when you helped a friend in need, when you encouraged someone who was struggling, or when you shared something that made a difference. Those moments stay with you because contribution is wired into our nature. It is how we create connection even when we are physically alone. The beauty of contribution is that it takes many forms. You don't have to change the world in one grand act. You can change someone's day in a small but powerful way. It might be writing something inspirational online that uplifts a stranger. It might be volunteering your time for a cause you believe in. It might be checking in on someone who is going through a hard time. It might even be creating art, music, or ideas that touch people you may never meet. Every time you contribute, you plant a seed of impact, and here's the secret: those seeds also feed you. They nourish your spirit, reminding you that your presence matters. When you live in solitude, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you don't matter or that your actions are invisible, but contribution proves the opposite. You don't have to be surrounded by people to touch lives. Even in your quiet moments, you can create ripples of influence that extend far beyond your own space. This builds a sense of connection, not through dependency, but through generosity. It shifts your focus from "what am I missing" to "what can I give?" That shift alone can dissolve loneliness and replace it with fulfillment. Another powerful truth is that contribution helps you grow. When you give, you develop skills, compassion, and perspective. Teaching others forces you to master your knowledge. Helping others builds empathy and patience. Sharing your gifts develops confidence. Contribution is not a one-way street. It transforms you as much as it transforms those you impact. And the more you contribute, the more you discover the depth of your own potential. Sometimes, people hold back from contributing because they fear it won't be enough. They think, "Who am I to make a difference?" But you don't need to be extraordinary to contribute. You become extraordinary through contribution. A kind word, a listening ear, a thoughtful action can change the entire course of someone's day, sometimes even their life. You may never know the full extent of your impact, but that doesn't make it any less real. The smallest act of giving often carries the greatest power. The truth is, happiness that only serves yourself is shallow and temporary, but happiness that comes from contribution is deep and lasting. Alone or not, when you give, you feel a sense of connection to life itself. You realize you are not here by accident. You are here to add value, to leave the world a little better than you found it. That awareness creates meaning, and meaning creates joy. So, when you find yourself alone, don't just think about how to fill your own time. Ask yourself, how can I use my time, my energy, my gifts to serve others? The answer might be small or it might be big, but either way, it will lift you. Because the paradox of life is this: the more you give, the more you grow. And when you grow through contribution, solitude is no longer something to fear. It becomes the stage where your purpose shines the brightest.